Deion Sanders said he's built to reconcile things at Colorado. But honestly, unless he changes his mindset, I don't know if that's true.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I'm your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. We are also brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network in the business. So make sure to like, subscribe, and follow so that way you don't miss out on a moment of our coverage. And thank you for making me your first listen of the day. Let's talk. We have a lot of things to discuss today. We're going to be talking about what Coach Prime called is his Last Supper. I'm not sure. That could be taken a bunch of different ways. I'm going to try to interpret it the way I think what he means and dive into what he needs to change in order to turn things around. We're going to talk about the staff changes that really need to happen. Otherwise, Colorado is going to fall into a pit of despair and may not be able to get out under this current regime. And then the portal is open. Departures have happened, and we will talk about them. So let's talk Last Supper. And no, I'm not talking about the holiday or the event, the dinner that comes around every April spring season, because we're talking about what Coach Prime called his Last Supper. So following Colorado's loss to Kansas State, Coach Prime said a couple of interesting things that stood out to me, and I don't really know what I understand what he's trying to say, but I don't know if he's willing to commit to the changes necessary. So he called this past season a Last Supper, saying that, which if you aren't familiar, the Last Supper is what Jesus and his followers had before he was crucified and then came back 3 days later. So he says that he's going to be making severe changes. And he said, quote, "If anybody's built to reconcile and to get this back on course, it's me. And I will do it if it's the last thing I do. Trust me when I tell you this was the Last Supper. God bless you." And quite frankly, I don't know if he's comparing himself to Jesus, and I don't think that's the case. But I do think he's trying to give fans reason for optimism because he's admitting he knows there's changes to be made. That being said, the changes have yet to go public. And I think that's one of the first issues that Colorado will have is until you publicly announce what's going to happen, you're going to hurt yourself in recruiting. You're going to hurt yourself in the portal, which I hope the changes are made by the time the portal opens next month. But Deion Sanders, he keeps talking about how he's going to make changes and he will make changes, but the changes start from within. The changes start with him. It's an attitude adjustment from him. It's a mindset adjustment from him, right? He can't just sort of have this mindset of like, I'm Deion Sanders. Whatever I do is going to work and people are just going to follow suit and everything's going to go my way or the highway, because guess what? That has not worked, right? I think there's been so many instances where things have gone Deion Sanders' way, and it's not working. Like the transfer portal method has been a complete and utter disaster, right? You want to build through the portal, and you keep saying, well, we lose half our recruits. You lose half our recruits. And it's like, yeah, because – and the recruits that you're losing, and no offense to them, you bring in – it's like either you get a blue chip guy who's going to play right away, or you just sort of add these random misfits of low-end recruits at times, and it's just like they don't play at all, then they transfer down. And it's like I don't think Colorado is intentional enough with their roster management. I don't think Deion Sanders is intentional enough with the culture he's building, right? This Colorado program has had a lot of problems all year long. They have no leadership all year long. After the final game, Caden Salter goes, yeah, it's hard to be a leader, right? They keep making changes to quarterback. How am I supposed to be a leader? And then Jeremiah Brown, who I think they didn't do him justice all season long until the very end here as a leader and just in terms of snaps. But he was kind of like, yeah, like, we just didn't have guys step up, right? This team lacks leadership, and that starts with the coaches. That starts with the identity, because this team has a rotten culture. This team has a culture of clout chasers, right? There's a reason that Caden Salter didn't work out. There's a reason that Jaheim Otis didn't work out. There's a reason that DJ McKinney at one point, and this has been confirmed many times, was holding out in the offseason, trying to get more money, right? This team is just full of guys who care about themselves. And when you have a roster, and Chad Brown came on the show and called them mercenaries was the word he used, right? He said, you have a roster full of mercenaries and they don't care about Colorado. And guess what? when it feels like the coach doesn't always care about Colorado, you're going to see that in the players, right? So Coach Prime has this mindset of like, who needs culture, right? We're here to win games. And it's like, okay, to win games, you have to have a culture, right? The reason that Colorado lost so many games is because they lacked culture. They lacked identity, right? These all happened this year. And Brian Howell tweeted this of Buff Zone. You were tied with Georgia Tech with 2 minutes remaining. You lost. You led BYU in the fourth quarter. You lost. You were tied with TCU with 7 minutes. You lost. You were down by 3 against West Virginia. You lost. You were down by 4 against Arizona State. You lost. Kansas State down 3, 7 minutes left. You lost, right? And this team wasn't mentally tough. They didn't care about one another. They were selfish. They were there. This Colorado team chased clout of last year's players, didn't get rewarded, and then immediately quit when things went bad. And the coaches did nothing about it. They did not a single thing about it. They didn't make any adjustments. They didn't play the right people. I feel bad for harping on it, but with a chance to win a game 2 weeks ago against Arizona State, that's when Coach Prime decides to put in his trump card of like, you know what, we're going to throw in Ronald Coleman, who never plays and has 0 career touches and had 1 snap on the season. He fumbles the ball, right? I think that was the perfect representation of how this season has gone, because Deion Sanders thinks that he could just do things however he wants. And he can. He's the head coach. I'm not saying you can't run your program the way you want to, but he's doing things in the manner that he feels as if he knows better than all. And quite frankly, this year shows that he needs an adjustment in how he approaches this job. If he truly believes that he can turn this job around, turn this program around, and I think he can, he has to understand that he can't just do things whatever. He can't just be like, I'm Deion Sanders, it'll work out because I'm one of the greatest players of all time. That's not how you win football games at the college football level. Hiring your friends with 0 coaching experience does you no good, because then when they fail, and they did, right? You brought in all these guys who are first-time coaches or who have only coached with you, and the players couldn't develop, right? And I wish, like, I think sometimes when I'm feeling like a little messy, and it's very rare, but you should see some of the likes. Like, the players, they're lucky that likes are private. And I'm not even saying like I would ever expose this, but there's been some questionable likes from active players on my tweets, on tweets from other people around Colorado, where the players are clearly fed up with what's going on behind closed doors. And I think Coach Prime needs to hit a reset button. He needs to reevaluate how he runs the program. He can't just throw this mindset of like, oh, who cares about having culture to the wind, because culture is what builds programs. It's what sustains success, right? Culture was Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter being the 2 best players in college football, but not feeling like they were stars, and not feeling like they were stars, obviously, but they didn't act like it. Travis Hunter and Shedeur were 2 of the most hardworking players. They watched film. They did everything right. This year, you had certain guys who you paid a lot of money not caring, because it's like, hey, they cashed a check. They got some attention. They do not care about this program, right? So this Last Supper mindset, I think Deion Sanders has the right idea in terms of like he can turn things around. But if he doesn't figure out a way to feel more invested and sort of make it so players feel more invested in the program, it's going to be his last supper for a different reason. And I hope that's not the case, just because I do think Colorado, when they're successful with Coach Prime, is one of the best programs to talk about, to watch, to really just in general in college football. But when Colorado has selfish people making decisions, when Colorado has selfish people at key positions, when Colorado has a coach who simply didn't do enough to usher a new culture, to usher identity in, I think the Last Supper can mean it's a double entendre, that's for sure. So Colorado needs to turn things around. It starts with Deion Sanders. I get that he thinks he's the right guy, but if he's not willing to make changes, that's the definition of insanity, right? And we all know the definition of insanity. It's doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And for right now, it kind of seems like Coach Prime is doing the same things. There hasn't been changes made yet. We don't know, like the roster construction is going to be going to be around the same method. So we will wait and see. But Coach Prime, I think this season has to be a wake-up call to really lock in here, because if you don't, things could go south even more. When we come back, we're going to talk about the staff changes that badly need to be made. But first, a quick break. This episode of Locked on Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at Game Time. The World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994. And with 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part. And that's why Game Time is clutch, finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. With Game Time, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when grand seats open, and buy tickets the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. You pull up the app, and the layout makes it so simple to scroll through the matchups and compare seat views. You pick a game, tap a section, and have your tickets locked in within minutes. No confusion, no hunting for the fine print. The seat view feature is a game changer. You literally see what the pitch looks like exactly from where the seat you'll be buying. Prices include fees up front, which I love. So there's low last-minute surprises at checkout that raises the price by $1,000 or something crazy. There's alert for teams and matches that make it easy to grab tickets the moment they drop instead of missing out. So do yourself a favor and take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets and every match, concert, or event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Welcome back to Locked on Buffs. I appreciate all of y'all for tuning in, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. So do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're getting really close to 8,000, and I would love to get there. Let's talk staff changes, right? We all know that they're supposed to be coming. They have yet to come. So that's a little bit disappointing. But I do think there's some clear changes that need to be made. And whether or not Coach Prime is going to make them is all part of his ability to sort of showcase how much he cares, I guess. But I think there's really, I think this is the hard part because Colorado's staff is in such a bad position right now that you need to make a lot of changes. But at the same time, you want to have continuity, right? You're going into year 4 at this point, and you have to sort of understand, like, hey, it's hard to change everything when we're trying to figure stuff out, right? You can't just be like, okay, brand new roster, brand new staff, let's run it together, because this Colorado program lacks culture, lacks identity. So bringing in a bunch of new stuff, I don't know how much that helps them. But there's a handful of changes that I think need to be made for Colorado. And so I'll go through them. And again, I want to preface this because I know in sports, there's this mindset of like, hey, I want to fire this coach because my team's bad and like blah, blah, blah. Like there is a human element to it. I think that's the hard part about this is all these people have given it their all. All of these people have tried their best. And sometimes in life, your best isn't good enough. And I quite frankly just think that it's the hard part about sports and football in general is like you sort of have to put on a business hat and be like, you know what? While I care about this person as a human, they aren't doing the job. So I have to move on for them. So I want to preface this. I don't just want to call for people's firing when it's not necessary. But I think for a lot of these people, it's necessary. So let's start off with the offense. Colorado's offense was terrible this year. One of the worst in the country. I feel like for the most part, honestly. In terms of Colorado's total offense, they ranked 107th in points per game, which is not great. They averaged 20.9, while their defense gave up 30.5. Yards per game, they ranked 106 at 328th in the country. Points per play, 0.3, 0.4, 106. Yards per play, they ranked 115th at 4.8. Third down conversion rate, 76 in the country. Fourth down conversion rate, 33.3%, 125th in the country. Red zone scoring, 57th. They talked about how much of a rush offense they'd have this year. Well, they ranked 114th in the country. Offensive, like passing, they were abysmal, 85th in the country. They gave up a lot of sacks still this year. So I think Brett Bartolone had a chance to showcase like why he deserves a chance to be the coordinator, and I don't think he did enough, honestly. And I hate to say it, but him and Pat Shurmur both should probably go. If you want to keep Brett Bartolone as a tight ends coach or whatever, fine. But Pat Shurmur, you need a new offensive coordinator. You do. You need someone who's going to come in and legitimately call a balanced offense, because Colorado's offense, it's not balanced at all. They ran the ball. They ran the ball at a very weird clip, I guess you could say. It's just they weren't good at running the ball. They weren't good at throwing the ball. So this team was just kind of lost or stuck in this purgatory. We talked about the Last Supper earlier. They were stuck in this purgatory of hey, we're not really good at anything. So what do we do? And for Colorado, I don't really know what the proper answer is. I don't. I don't know. Maybe you try to go get a Rashad Samples from Oregon, Jerry Neuheisel from UCLA. You could try to get one of the up and coming coordinators who's been at these jobs North Tech, or with Eric Morris at North Texas, or you look around and you just go, what can we do? What can we do to build this staff up? And if you're Deion Sanders, not only do you have to find someone who has experience and is willing to be creative, but you need to find someone who you trust, who's someone who you go, this is your offense, call it how you want. Because I think to some degree, Deion Sanders had his hands all over the offense, and that's partially why it didn't change much from the year prior. And nothing went well. They didn't play to Caden Salter's strengths at all. I think Caden Salter was a colossal flop for Colorado. That being said, had Colorado catered their offense to him a little bit better, I think they're a bowl game, or I think they're a team that makes a bowl game. I do. I think they're probably a team that maybe makes a better push they didn't make a push at all, but maybe makes a push for the Big 12 if they cater to him. Instead, they put Caden Salter in Shador's offense for the most part. There was some changes here and there, but they didn't change enough. And you have to be able to run the ball. You have to be able to be balanced. Colorado is one-dimensional the past 2 years, and this year they just didn't have generational talents all over the field. So there's that. So change an offensive coordinator, play caller. You need to have an explosive offense, one that attracts recruits, one that you can give Julian Lewis and others a reason to stay. So change the offense. Wide receivers, I don't know. I think if you wanted to make a case to keep Kevin Mathis, or excuse me, not Kevin Mathis. Apologies. If you wanted a case to keep the wide receivers coach, Jason Phillips, I wouldn't mind it. I do think that I expected a little bit more from them. I didn't always love the rotations that they had, but you could keep Jason Phillips. Now here's where we start getting into these are the non-negotiables. And honestly, these next, I guess we'll call them 2-3 coaches, will really show us how serious Coach Prime is about changing things up. Kevin Mathis, the corners took a huge step back. Colorado's defense this year, and it didn't help that they couldn't really get to the quarterback up front, but they gave up a completion percentage of 55.42%, opponent's completion percentage. They were giving up 7.5 yards per pass, which ranked 90th in the country. They gave up 203 yards passing per game, in addition to giving up over 200, almost let's see, how many yards rushing did they give up? 225. So they were getting torched. So Kevin Mathis's corners, though, giving up 203 yards passing per game. It was just not great, right? And I think when you had a guy like DJ McKinney and a guy like Preston Hodge, who were both foundational pieces last year, I thought DJ McKinney had first round, maybe second round experience or potential. He'll be lucky if he goes in the top 4 rounds, honestly. He looks like a 5th round pick to me. Preston Hodge, I thought, could work his way into that 5th, 4th round. I think he'd be lucky to go in the 6th round at this point, right? Colorado's corners took a colossal step back. They were penalized constantly. They were constantly getting beat. It was just all around bad. The secondary took such a step back. And I think when you have Deion Sanders and then Kevin Mathis, who he had his fair share of time in the league, you have to make a change there. So that is a friend of Coach Prime. We'll see if he's willing to make that change. Another one, linebackers, Andre Hart. He had never coached anywhere, and this is the same thing with Coach Mathis. Neither of them coached anywhere before being hired by Deion Sanders at Jackson State, and they coached with him at Trinity as well. So they went from high school to FCS ball to P4 ball, and are clearly they don't belong in terms of what they bring to the table. They just don't. So there's that. So you got to change Mathis. I think the linebackers were atrocious this year. You really played, and this is totally on Andre Hart. Your two best linebackers, Jeremiah Brown and Sean Myers, were by far the best linebackers, yet it feels like they played the least until the very end when it like didn't matter. And it's like, okay, that's an interesting strategy. Like you're trotting out Martavius French, and you're trotting out Reggie Hughes, and it's like, okay, these guys are not good. They are not it. Like you have to sort of understand, if you're Colorado, like we missed colossally on the defensive line at the linebacker position. We missed colossally on our defensive linemen. Like it was just not good. Like I don't know what to say about it. Like Sean Myers, I mean, on the year he had 36 total tackles, a sack, and a forced fumble, and he really didn't start seeing a lot of reps until the Arizona game, I would say. So November, and you just had him sit in the bench the whole time. So I think Andre Hart's development of linebackers was atrocious. I think last year he lucked out with Nikhai Hill-Green and Levante Bentley. And it's just one of those things where it's like, you can't have a weak front seven in the Big 12 and expect to win. That brings me to the next next group of people who are on the hot seat is the entire recruiting staff, talent evaluating staff. So that'd be Phillips, Box, whatever. Those guys, because a lot of people are going to point to Coach Prime having cancer in this offseason as a reason that Colorado struggled. And I'm not going to pretend it didn't play a role. It had to have played a role, right? He wasn't there. The leader of this program wasn't there. And I think we saw the issues that they had. That being said, those were the guys that identified the talents. Like those were the guys that were like, hey, like this guy's good. We should bring him in. Like those are the guys that took a chance on Jaheim Otis and paid him however many dollars. These are the guys that took a chance on Reggie Hughes and Martavius French. And these are the guys that took a chance on whoever else, right? Like your wide, like Sincere Brown or whoever it is. Like they took chances on all these guys and it did not work out. And quite frankly, if you're Colorado, you need to figure out who you could get in the building that can evaluate talent. Like if I was Coach Prime, I would look at programs who are built similarly, who are built almost the same as Colorado. Like if I were Coach Prime, I'd go look at Indiana. I'd be like, okay, you build through the transfer portal heavily. Obviously, you had a lot of James Madison guys help you establish the culture, but I'm going to take someone from your evaluator staff and make them my GM, right? That's what you have to do. You have to look at the programs who are doing what you want to do successfully and bring someone over. So that way they can help you rebuild your program. Because right now, the evaluators that you have in there that were like, yeah, this is a good transfer portal class, they did you a disservice that is worth jail time. Like those guys, the transfer portal class that Colorado brought in was atrocious. It's miss after miss. I'd say I think they brought in around 30 guys and they probably hit on 7 of them, which is a terrible hit rate. And it's consistently been their hit rate. Like you look at who they hit on over the past few years. And I did this, or I talked about this when I was discussing Coach Prime's mindset on the transfers. Like you literally are bringing in guys anywhere from 40 to 60 guys, and you're hitting on less than a quarter of them. That's not great when you were trying to build your roster through the portal. So if you're Coach Prime, you need to change your offensive coordinator. I give Robert Livingston another chance just simply because he's shown flashes, and I think if anyone could turn around, it'd be him. But Coach Hart, you got to hit the road. Coach Mathis probably hits the road, and the evaluator staff hit the road, because what we saw this year was unacceptable. Unacceptable, cannot happen again. And if it does happen again, Colorado will be in it for a very tough 2026 season. When we come back, we're going to be talking about a few of the departures that we've already seen from the Buffs. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by Omaha Steaks. The holidays always feel a little easier when you already know the perfect gift, and Omaha Steaks makes it almost too simple. Whether you're treating yourself this season or sending someone something memorable to family and friends, Omaha Steaks delivers handcrafted perfection right to their door. And this week is the best time to jump in because their cyber sale is here and the deals are huge. I've given Omaha Steaks as a gift before. My dad's really hard to shop for, and I was like, you know what? He likes to grill. He likes steaks. And he was like, yes, like I could use this. Like he doesn't like the sweaters I pick out for him. He doesn't like the shoes I get him. So I got him some steaks. I was like, grill yourself some burgers, some steaks. and he loved it. So save big on unforgettable gifts with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide, an extra 20% off select favorites during their cyber sale, and for an additional $35 off. Use promo code COLLEGE at checkout. That's omahasteaks.com, promo code COLLEGE. Terms apply. See site for details. This episode of Locked On Buffs is also brought to you by our sponsors over at Doer. If you or a loved one need some pants or some shirts or whatever piece of clothing where you're just like, I want to be comfortable, but I want to look good, Doer. Let me tell you about Doer. So they are the comfiest jeans I own, and I'm a jean like guy. I've been through the American Eagles, I've tried the Lululemons, and guess what? Doer is the most comfortable pants I own. They have a Cool Max material that regulates your body temperature and wicks moisture. They keep you cool and comfortable as temperature changes. Their classic styles with the kind of they combine style and comfort, and you get performance from athletic wear, like it's athletic wear, but it's a jean, so it's perfect. So Doer makes the world's most comfortable pants without having to sacrifice style. It's the best of both worlds. You can check out Doer in-store in Denver. It's at 2621 Lemire Street. Pick up a pair for yourself or as an amazing holiday gift. Mention my promo code LOCKEDONDenver in-store to get 15% off your first order, or check them out online at shopduer.com/LockedOnDenver for 15% off. That's shopduer.com/LockedOnDenver. Welcome back to the Locked On Buffs. I appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow so you don't miss out on a moment of the coverage. Let's talk transfer portal departures. Colorado's already had a couple. One of them is more disappointing than the other simply because people are gonna be like, oh, he proves Coach right, and it's like, no, he didn't. It's just like just stop it. But so far, Colorado has 2 outgoing transfers. True freshman linebacker Montrez Walker, who I think he came in a little bit undersized, wasn't prepared to play right away. Saw some action on special teams, but other than that, didn't do much. Losing him is disappointing because you think Colorado would have found a way to get him involved, but with how bad this linebacker room, he simply couldn't get onto the field as much. And so you lose him. He's a 3-star, 4-star guy out of Georgia. Tough. You need all the depth you could get. So losing a guy like that certainly doesn't help because I think Colorado has more success with their freshmen. So I would like to see him in year 2. And then Terrence Love, which is being reported as new, but he left the team months ago. So Colorado's currently at 2 outgoing transfers. I expect that number to be pretty big, honestly. From what I'm being told, Colorado's probably going to see quite a few departures. So it's really going to be a tough offseason for the Buffs in terms of the transfer portal because they're going to bring in a lot of transfers. And we're all going to be excited about them because, new faces, new players, and all that. Like, I get it. We're all going to be excited. But at the end of the day, Colorado has dug themselves in such a big hole, and I imagine they're going to lose quite a few guys, that they're really going to have to nail these evaluations. And that's just not really something they've been able to do. So we will see how this transfer portal class shapes up for the Buffs. But quite frankly, 2 early departures, I expect there to be more. And there's some big ones that I think most Colorado fans are worried about. Jordan Seaton, Julian Lewis, Omarion Miller, Draylon Miller, Cam Michael. Like, there's quite a few guys where it's like other programs are going to come knocking for them. Hopefully Colorado can keep them around. We'll have to wait and see. But either way, I will keep you guys updated every step of the way. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. My name is Kevin Borba. This has been Locked On Buffs.